we only need 12% to make this company go. You guys know we revenue shared 202 million last year. Does everybody know that number? 202 million. It's not really far out to think that we're going to revenue share in the next 4 years $1 billion. Probably more. Only 12% of our agents are involved in that. Why? I know the 80-20 rule, the 90-10 rule. For some reason, you have to learn another skill in order to recruit people. I sold homes. I sold 120 homes a year, 3 years in a row. I was top 20 in the state for Remax. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? When you recruit agents, it's totally different. I've been doing it since 1989. You guys are weird. Every single one of you are different. Every single one of you have different needs. So what I want to just share with you is the opportunity is now. How many people do you talk to and they go, hey, is it time? You know, you guys got in early. You know, you did it, you know. You know the CLCA? 8 years ago when I did this and I sold 6 offices in the region to come here, they called me crazy. Literally the first 20 agents I talked to were all my best friends in real estate. They all turned me down. You are crazy. That company has 400 agents. You were at Keller Williams for 21 years. What the heck are you doing? So in all your markets, when you first start, they're going to call you crazy. And a couple of years later, it started to work. They called me lucky. then literally 7 or 8 years later, when I'm making more in rev share than the top 66 people combined at Keller Williams in profit share, just so you know, that's real combined. They call me a crook. Because there's no way you can make that much money, right? CLCC. Now the A part is, now they're calling me for advice. If you're starting in a new market, you're going to go through those phases, every single one of you. So there's so many markets we're not in. There's so many people that literally don't know about us. That we just got somebody 6 months ago in Austin, Texas, where Elizabeth Riley and I started this thing, and he had never heard about EXP. And we have 9,000, 10,000 agents in Texas. He goes, no, I don't even know what you guys are. I've never seen your sign. Because agents put their blinders on. So I want you guys to know this is your time, 23, 24, and 25, because of the Boost program that I'll let you talk about, and things, the Boost program, I'll let you talk about that. It's going to be monumental.
Game changer.
I'm the only person, AJ, that was ready for a down market. I was praying for a down market because too many brokers I talked to were doing too well. And now it's time, so we're going to be blessed to help them.
Yeah, I won't share much. You guys have all seen me cry already.
Do that.
I feel like I've hustled quite a bit in this industry. Sold a lot of houses, helped a lot of agents, and there's just nothing. I've never had more fun than the last 3 years, and there's nothing more leveraged that we could possibly do with our time than focus on bringing agents over. And when you first get started, if you're newer to it, you're like, man, I hope this thing is good. I'm like calling all my friends and let's all do this together, and it'll take time. Some people will just come over, and some people, we've got a big player coming over this week that he was like one of the first people I reached out to. So it took him every bit of 2 years and 10 months to wrap his head around this thing. And what made it happen was that his top agent does like 30 million of his 100 million, said that she was leaving and joining an EXP brokerage. Wow. He's like, we're moving to EXP. And he called me and he's like, we're moving. I'm like, okay, well that helps. But there's just nothing cooler that I've ever done in my professional life than this, and just to build it with all of you, and now to switch toward helping all of you. The base is there for me, and now it's like who else can we bring in, and not even in my group necessarily. If any of you need help at any point in your journey, bringing someone in and a different perspective from the hardest no that you will ever know around EXP was me, and now I'm totally solved Paul and conversion over here. So if you guys need anything, we're all here for you. And I said it the other night on Monday, but some of you will go through some stuff, even personally, and it's not all up and to the right, in every area of your life. So as you guys hit those bumps and you get down, and just reach out to somebody, make the connections at these events, and on a personal level, just know that we're fighting for each other in all the areas of life that matter.
So you guys might not realize that 5 years ago, like the first build event, it wasn't called build, but it was the first event that Brent actually did for EXP as a recruiting event, and it was about this size in Scottsdale, Arizona, and pretty much maybe a little bit more than this.
That's awesome.
I mean, we didn't even have microphones. And I was talking to Aaron last night, and I think you maybe had an epiphany, and I had an epiphany at the same time. It was a moment we shared.
Yeah.
But you were like, so this is basically just like Brent's event. It's not EXP, or this is like the events that we're doing.
It's like a lunch and learn at scale.
Exactly. And you're like, I can do this.
I can do that.
Like, how many agents were at your last event?
50.
Yeah. Like, that's how this starts. Like, the first lunch and learns we started doing in Charlotte had like 5 people. And then we were doing 8 a week with like 15 to 20 at each one.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron Novello. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I have 142 agents, 24 frontline qualifying agents. I've been with the company for 13 months.
And just to put that in perspective, I was right around the same size he is right now, a year in. So, you hear, well, I'm too late, or you got in early. He's right on track where I was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So congratulations, man. And what's been your biggest rev share month so far?
15,000.
15,000. That's awesome. Stacy.
Stacy Peterson. I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. My org size is 600. My FLQAs are 24, 2.5 years. 42,000.
I've been in 6 years, Kathy Burns from North Carolina. I've got 8 qualifiers, 182, 7 levels deep. My biggest check's been a little over 9,000, but it won't be that way for long.
That's And when you're on stage, you forget to say some things. I know we both forgot to say some things, but one of the things I wanted to say on the stage was when I shared that hole analogy, I wanted to follow it up with, like, when you're digging your hole, it doesn't matter how deep your hole gets, how wide, how big. It doesn't matter what someone else's hole, like how big their hole is, like, don't compare it. It doesn't matter. What matters is the hole you're digging, does it lead to water that satisfies your soul, passions, and desires? It's not about what others have, it's about like what is your dream. And we get lost too much in our share, don't compare your insides to others' outsides.
Oh, man.
And that's
My
really
biggest
important.
rev share check was last month, 18,500.
That's huge. And you just broke
Just getting
number
started.
25 on the Game Changers ranking report yesterday. Congrats. Jose. Jose still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
I have 186, 17 FLAs, and then 10 FLQAs. And the best thing that I did was bring Aaron on.
I told him he's going to have a little picture of me in his house, and every time he walks by, he'll be like,
And I believe it, and I'm okay with that.
And this is the thing, guys. You're one agent away from your life changing. You might have to sit there and chip away for a long time to find that one, or you might find them right away. It doesn't matter, but one leg can grow you deep. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yes.
What's your biggest month?
Yeah.
That's 13,700.
Wow.
But I agree with you on it. All it takes is one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Changes the right leader changes the entire org.
And you want to kiss him now?
Sometimes you gotta go through a lot to find the gold. Will and Veronica.
Go ahead, baby.
Will and Veronica with Boston, Massachusetts. We have 64 agents, 19 FLAs, and 14 FLQAs. Our biggest month was 7,200.
Nice. Is there anyone that I missed that has over 50 in their organization? Caggiano, you're on my list.
Yeah, I'm getting my voice back. My son gave me his cold. So, so 150 in the organization, 26 FLAs, and about 17 FLQAs right now.
Biggest rep share check.
I had 170 at one time last year, so at that time I had 22,000 as a
Nice.
share check.
Beautiful.
And I do have a picture of Lars and Stacy in their dining room that I kiss every day. My wife doesn't mind if Stacy's on there at all.
I just want to say, acknowledge Robert and Aurora. Their group size is like 10 right now, but watching Robert work this event with one of the recruits he had here, Tom, who committed to joining independent brokerage of 12. Where's Tom at? So he committed joining. But like when you get to these events, you gotta work them. Like Robert is like, you've been in front of everyone, Tom. Like, I'm like, why are you even coming to meet with me today? You've already seen everybody. Like that's what you gotta do. And I love when people are at the beginning because it's just special being there and seeing like how diligent you are to the opportunity. You just gotta show up. You gotta put in the work. As you've seen, there's so many people that want to help you.
Real quick, and I'm a numbers guy, so I'm going to focus on some of the numbers. You know, when you know others are making like more than you are, but $10,000 a month in this model is like having $2.4 million in the bank.
Yes.
So if you don't have $2.4 million in the bank, I promise you getting to a 10,000 revenue share monthly consistently is 1,000 times easier.
Yes.
You know, so as you're sort of like, I could hear it in Debbie's voice in particular, you know, a little bit like I wish it was more. It's like having $2 million in the bank. And I don't know if you have a separate $2 million, but 8,500 is literally an asset worth $2 million. And it's like, when you think of it like that, it's like, holy cow. You know, so, I mean, it comes in like $1,000 increments. But whatever the math is on every 1,000 is like a couple $100,000 of a net worth equivalent. So just from the numbers perspective, that's what really got me over the hump. Like, holy cow! You know, the residual leverage side of this it's unlike anything you could possibly do.
Yeah.
How many rental properties would you need to generate $8,500 a month?
Yeah.
Like maybe 40. You know, so it's wild.
So we got 2 more people that I want to share, and then we'll wrap it up and get to the conference. There's probably lots of coffee left, so if you guys want to take some to go, that'd be awesome. Lars, share your number.
Oh, my numbers. I talk too much. I had a moment the other day. It was with Chris where I had literally run out of words in the middle of a conversation because I'm not really extroverted. I don't know if you remember the moment. You said something, I had no words.
I bailed you out.
Yeah, you did. And then I recovered and it was okay. So for me, what is it? It's like 1550 in the organization. I think I've brought in 50. It's at like 39 now. So I've had some folks leave. 31 FLQAs. So the 30 that does help me a little bit.
Woo!
What's that?
Level 7.
Level 7 is 25. 25 agents on level 7. My biggest check, I think I'm going to be getting my biggest check in about a week, but my biggest was $101,000.
In the bank for that.
I track it on my tracker, so I do a 3-month rolling average of, and it's like it's like $22, $24 million. And I don't have that much money on the other side, so it's magic.
And I'll share, I have 72 FLAs, 6,540, I think, right now. And
Might be more in the next 30 minutes.
yeah, maybe we'll have to check. Biggest rev share check was 237,000, which is pretty good. I think I'll hit 300 this summer. What's crazy, whoever made the comment, like back when like 100 was like the big number, like wow, they got 100 agents. I remember being in a very small room, like 100 people. This is Puerto Vallarta, 2017, 2018, and Rob Flick, who's here, has over 19,000 agents now. He's at the conference. Started the conference out at like 97,000 in pending rev share, and we were all blown away. I had like 60 agents at the time, and he's like, we're gonna refresh it at the end of the day and see how much it was.
Wow.
And he broke 103 for the first time.
Wow.
And now he has 19,000 agents, so you can imagine what he's earning.
Weekly.
Yeah, that's like weekly. Yeah, like twice a week.
Yeah.
I remember when AJ shared with John and I, it was at the Brendan Burchard Mastermind in Miami, I think, on the boat. And he's like, he was wanting to have a conversation about EXP. I don't even know what it was. He's like, I just hit 200 in my, and John and I were like, I
was just sharing good news with a friend.
Yeah, we were like, I don't know what he's talking about. Let's just go get another drink. But like, that was 200 agents. And I remember you hit 2,000. I forget what the exact time frame was, but it was a 10x in a few short years.
Yeah.
Like, so this is the kind of thing that getting to 20 is hard, because that's all your rejection and you're going through everyone you know. Then it just grows easier over time. You know, so it's like a log, sort of. I don't know if you're into Bitcoin, but look at everything on a log scale, and it's like a log sort of growth. So it's just
It's the best opportunity we'll probably ever have in our lives, guys.
Yeah.
So take advantage of it. Don't be the person 3 to 5 years from now looking around at everyone else here like, I wish I would just show up and did the work. You know, and you're just still grinding away, you know, doing all the things you don't want to be doing, missing out on all the things you want to be doing.
We're here in Cabos, San Lucas with some rock stars in the Elite Builders Nation. I wanted to get everybody together to have this conversation with you guys. We have about 90 years of real estate experience in the real estate business. We all came from various different backgrounds, different geographic locations. We also came to the same conclusion, which is that EXP, this model, this opportunity, really was the opportunity that we'd been preparing ourselves for our whole career. So I thought it would be helpful and useful for those of you who may be on the fence, who may be kind of behind a wall, and that wall could be thinking, that wall could be misperception in terms of what it actually is, to hear from those who have made that transition, whether it's 20 months ago like me, or within the last year like Jess, to see what was their barrier, right? Kind of mentally, what was getting in the way, what caused you to actually see it, and then what your guys' experience has been since you made the transition. Mark, I know you, like me, owned part of a office and sold it back in order to participate in this opportunity. And I'm aware that that requires a lot of intestinal fortitude. It requires you seeing more long-term value somewhere else. That's the only reason why you would do that, right? So, perhaps if you could share what was your kind of resistance to that at first, because I know I wasn't the first person to have a conversation with you about EXP, and what caused you to see it, and then what your experience has been since you've made the transition.
So, for me, the resistance was a 15-year relationship in being very comfortable. Very comfortable where I already was. And by nature, I'm a real loyal person. And so that's a 15-year relationship that it was a barrier for me to get past. And then I had ownership in the market center that I was in, and I started to see some of the financials and become aware that after you had made your transition. And so then I started watching real closely, and as I see the financials, it helped me see the writing on the wall, where the market started to shift, and now we had significant expenses. And I became very clear that it wasn't going to get any better. What helped me go beyond the barrier, quite frankly, was you. You were the tip of the spear, so to speak, that guided and let me see where the opportunity was. Because for a long time, I was on that transaction treadmill. Here I'd been doing real estate for the past 22 years. And what I observed was, here I invested in real estate, I invested in stocks, I invested in a title company and in a market center, and I still didn't see a very clear picture as to how I was going to get off that transaction treadmill.
And that's super interesting because you did pretty much everything right, right?
Yeah.
You were getting small pieces of ancillary businesses or ancillary services, imagining that would produce enough cash flow where you could get off this transaction treadmill. And despite doing that, looking around, you were making some money.
Yeah.
It certainly was not enough money to support your lifestyle if you decided to stop selling real estate.
Correct.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. And then after having been here a year now, what's interesting is looking back, just if you look at the opportunity in stock alone that I've been awarded and that I've been able to receive at a discount, I've amassed about $32,000, $33,000. Had I done that 15 years ago when I first started with the office, I'd have over $350,000. So I was blind probably up until maybe even 6 months ago when I saw just how real it was.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and I'm super privileged and proud to be in partnership with you.
Likewise.
Yeah, so, and Jess, what I'm aware of is for you made a pretty solid transition. I was actually coaching you at the time. You just moved from New Jersey to Texas, which is a pretty drastic cultural move. You didn't know a soul. That first calendar year, I think you did 50 transactions, which is awesome, 52, something like that, 15 million in volume. And what was interesting is at the time, I believe I had a conversation with you, and you actually decided to go someplace else. Yeah. She's like, yeah. And so perhaps maybe walk people through what the barrier was in terms of thinking for you to like actually see it, and then what caused you to see it, and then what your experience has been, because you've really like blossomed and thrived in this model over the last, I don't know, 15 months.
Thank you for that. So I have a quick question for Mark. Mark, you said that you used to own part of an office. Do you know how much your overhead was there?
Yeah, at the time our overhead was like $85,000 a month.
Oh goodness. So in order for you to be profitable, you had to cover that.
Yeah.
Interesting, because part of your question was like why I decided to make the move and leave. I kept trying to grow a team because the only way I saw to grow, to be able to handle the volume that we wanted to do, was with collaboration, having other people involved. And it just, I was constantly training my competition. And I, you know, a lot of people get tired of that. Probably many of you have experienced it, where you've poured into someone, you've done everything you can, and now they're your best competitor. So I had that experience. Something to look out for is what he kind of touched on. There's a lot of brokerages right now who, in order to gain you as their agent, are going to offer you a sign-on bonus.
And that's what happened with you, yeah.
He's right. I was moving to a new market. I was leaving my financial stability in a partner, and this brokerage offered me a very healthy sign-on bonus. Be very clear, that is not your money. The minute you leave, you are expected to pay that entire bonus back. And even if you stay, at some point when you retire, they expect a part of that bonus back. It is not your money. So when I left to come to EXP, you know, I was expected to pay back that full $100,000. I was also stripped of my pendings, and I was not allowed to take my active listings with me. And I still would do it 10 times.
Yeah, and I guess I'm wondering because, you know, it's interesting because we were having a conversation as somebody who now has conversations with agents about, you know, making transitions. And it's very interesting to me that the vast majority of agents do not read ICAs. What was interesting is Dan's been in business for like 25 years. He said to me out loud, he's like, what's an ICA? So it's what I'm aware of is that most agents don't read that. And they don't read the fine print in terms of, you know, because what that model essentially is we're going to give you a payday advance. And we're going to have you sign a contract for a specific allotment of time. So that way you're stationary. It has a split that never caps. So you're going to give it all back to them, really, over time. And if you do decide to leave or want to transition, there's clawback mechanisms. And it's just that people don't read. We had one agent who made a transition recently and buried 2 addendums deep was that if he left, they kept 50% of the pendings, right? So it's just something to be like aware of. At the same time, I'm also aware that for you at that time making that transition, what they offered you was like meaningful, right? So I understood why you decided to take it. And then what caused you to say like, okay, I am willing to walk away from a meaningful amount of money, a meaningful like pendings, listings, because I think that this opportunity is best long-term?
Because I kept hitting a ceiling. Probably a lot of brokers and team leaders feel that way, that they're almost stuck. Like, we're doing all the things, right? Mark, you're doing all the things. Why am I still like struggling to break through the next, you know, stage? And when you have children, or if you have a big, robust life, you don't want to stay in the same place forever. You want to grow. You want to constantly be evolving. And that just wasn't possible where I was at, in the model that I was in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then in the last, however many months it's been, 12 months, for the first maybe 6 months, you know, we would have conversations. I have the good fortune, I've coached you for a while. And, you know, you're focused on production, and that was going well. And then once the light bulb went off with regards to this attraction thing, in the last maybe 6 or 7 months, you've attracted how many agents?
45 total, and 6 have left.
Yeah, okay, so that's
39 is the agent count right now.
We're agents, we like to make numbers sound bigger. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's dope. And what I'm aware of is now, instead of just selling something, now you're building something. Yeah, and that's awesome. So It's a privilege and a pleasure to be in partnership with you.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, for sure. Back in. So I guess we can go now to Daniel.
Dan the man.
Dan the man. We've been working together for how long, Dan?
Since 2017.
2017. So what I'm aware of is like this is really relationships plus value over time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and all of these are like meaningful relationships. I've known Mark for 15, 16 years?
16 years.
16 years.
Wow.
And I know you because of Dan.
Yeah, so it's really cool how that works. I've known her since she's 18 years old, you know what I'm saying? So...
Yeah.
Does she still look the same?
Yes, yeah, in my opinion. Yeah, in my opinion.
Yes, good answer.
Better.
So you were at a very traditional kind of boutique,
Yes.
local brokerage firm. Being that you were at that boutique firm, I know they were big on like relationships.
Yes,
They were big
huge
on
relationships.
huge on relationships. And you'd been there for a long time, no?
12 years.
Were they the only kind of initially in real estate? No, you've been in for a long time. So you were with someone else prior to that?
No, that
boutique.
was, I came right out of real estate school and went right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're there for an extended period of time, and I'm sure, I have to imagine, because you were, producing, doing good volume,
Yeah.
that other brokerages had approached you, whether they be franchises, perhaps EXP, other models,
They did.
and your mind was closed at that time, right?
Well, every time that I would get approached and would go to my broker there or the manager, they would match whatever I was being offered.
I see. Which, you know what I find really interesting about that, Dan? It's kind of like this thing, it's like, well, wait a minute, let me get this right. So you were taking advantage of me before, and now that I say I'm going to leave, you're going to give me a little bit better deal. Like, that's super interesting to me.
And that's exactly what happened.
So you kept doing that, and that kept happening.
Yes.
Right? And I guess that could have went on in perpetuity, forever. So what was the thing that caused you to see that there was something different?
We were having a discussion one day, and it was, I remember like it was yesterday. We took what I made with that company, and then you were like, this is what you would have made here.
Yeah.
And it was tens of thousands of dollars.
It was meaningful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And you're like, this is the opportunity.
Yeah, and then I'm wondering, because I know for a lot of people, Mark had mentioned it, like relationship.
Yes.
And I'm respectful of that, like I get that. I'm also aware that, it's a business decision. And as a business decision, so even though you saw the difference,
Yes.
did you immediately be like, okay, let's go? Or did it take a little bit to come to that conclusion?
It took a little bit, but here's what I'll speak of on that. So, because I know a lot of agents that are with that brokerage and another brokerage that focuses a lot on relationships.
Sure.
Events, they do get-togethers, dinners, bowling, all that stuff. And yes, that's important. Of course, camaraderie is important. But at the end of the day, I don't go to my job for camaraderie. I go to my job to make money.
Sure.
And when we just broke it down, it was like, look, you can still go this way, and if you want to like go and do these events with these people, that's fine. You're gonna make what you're making. You're not gonna be able to grow anymore.
Yes.
And take yourself and branch yourself out to whatever your goals and destiny is gonna be.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw.
That's exactly right. So because in that environment, you were selling something or you weren't building something.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And really what you were doing was building somebody else's asset, because if they were to sell that asset, you wouldn't participate in that.
Yeah.
They'd be like, thanks, Dan.
And I think at the end of the day, it was difficult for me because I had built this is 12 years we're talking.
Yeah, sure.
I knew them, and, do I wish it could have been, easier and more amicable when I left? Yes. But at the same time, it was purely what you said, it was a business decision. I knew that if I was going to move and go where we are, that I would be able to branch out, coach, mentor agents, if I can better somebody else's life in a shorter amount of time than what I did, there isn't anything better for me, because again, and I say this a lot, I don't have a wife, I don't have children. Mm-hmm. So, my why is every other agent out there that I know this model will benefit them exponentially just by taking advantage of what this model offers.
That's right. Yeah, you've been helping lots of people running the role play group for us for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So then you made that transition, right? Well, first you made a transition before that.
Yes, we did.
And then I came back to you like, I don't know, maybe
let's go there, exactly.
15 months later and was like, hey bro, I've been doing some more tinkering in the lab.
Yes.
I found something that's better. And I remember you looked at me on the coaching call, you're like,
I was like,
really, bro? Like, is that really what we're doing? And I was like,
I said, really? And you're like, yeah, man, like this, you got to look at this and look at this. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I was like, okay. And I took it home and I let it marinate for a few days. And I was like, listen, man, and this is where the relationships plus value over time comes in. If you've done the work, you personally, and are coming to me and are saying, Dan, this is a better way, and I've already taken advantage of it.
Sure.
There isn't anything else that I need to know.
Yeah.
Tell me where to sign, tell me where we're going, and this is where we're going to be.
Yeah. Appreciate you waiting. Hosey had me waiting because this is East Coast, West Coast, and we had to get this emergency meeting popping because we got all these people texting us, emailing us, and I wanted to get together some powerful leaders in the elite builders so we can address this head on. In the 18 years I was selling real estate, things changed as far as like how the business is done in terms of technology. This is a fundamental structural change to the business. At the same time, what I'm aware of is that our industry is very, adaptive. I know that with these changes, people who pivot will actually, I think, do better and actually make more money. So the question is just, how are we going to pivot? So for those of you who, I think everybody knows Hosey in the baby blue right now, looking smooth and easy in the baby blue.
I'm wearing cowboy boots. You guys want to see?
Hey, God. Oh, wow. Shows me well, I'm just wearing underwear, bro, so I can't stand up. and then we got the powerful Vicente Arzata, our resident kind of, contract specialist. So welcome, guys. I'm excited to hop on this live. I felt it was important as a leader to, just kind of address it head on. So I guess the first thing we can start with is that I did a post maybe like 2 months ago where I said, hey, I think with a very high degree of probability here in the perhaps distant future or not so distant future, buyer's agents will have to negotiate a portion, if not all of their fee. And, two things came from this particular settlement, which, by the way, it has to be approved by the judge, hasn't been approved yet. Let's say it does. We'll go with the assumption that it will. There were two main changes that were agreed to. One was that compensation can no longer be put in MLS for a buyer's agent. Now, it did not say you cannot offer compensation to a buyer's agent. It just said that it can't be put in the multiple listing service. And what I'm aware of is for commercial real estate, a lot of transactions are done without the commission being put anywhere. And when somebody makes an offer, they kind of do an LOI, a letter of intent. And in that offer is the purchase sales price and also the professional fee that the buyer's agent is looking to get on that sale. And then it becomes a negotiation. The second rule is that if you do work with buyers, you must have a buyer broker's agreement kind of authorized. I think the goal and objective there is to have upfront conversations in terms of compensation and what that's going to look like. So Vicente, you've been selling real estate longer than me and Jose, probably combined. So talk to me a little bit about your first kind of reaction to those two rule changes.
Thank you, Aaron. This is something that has been going on in the brewing in the back burner for a long time, and technology and changes to the industry are the ones that causing this. I'm in my third decade as a realtor, so I've seen a lot, especially after the year 2000. You call it that little thing they call the internet. So that brought a lot of changes. And I recall a conversation that we had a couple years ago where I shared with you that the power shifting on the real estate relationships in the 60s and before, when organized real estate was put together, the power was really in the hands of the brokerage. Then with the birth of the internet, the power shifted to the hands of the agents. But now with Internet 4.0 or higher, the power is shifting to the hands of the consumer. So how do is this change, this Burnett lawsuit and the settlement is going to affect our industry. First, like you say, um, it's going to be a different conversation between the seller and the listing agent.
A much more, I believe, skilled and professional conversation.
Correct.
Yeah, and I believe that one of the things I wrote down is that buyer's agents up until now have actually never had to come up with a formal presentation, the majority of them, a formal presentation demonstrating what value they bring to the transaction, right? And I think that one of the byproducts of this is that a lot of agents, the vast majority of agents are buyer heavy. 60-70% of their transactions are on the buy side. So a lot of those agents, I think, will perhaps not have the capacity or the bandwidth to make that pivot, right? Or have those skills. I think the ones that do pivot, do have a formal presentation and basically list buyers, will actually make the same, if not perhaps a little bit more, as long as they can demonstrate the fact that they add value to the transaction and specifically how they add value. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, because for the better part of my career, 25 years, then you sat down with the seller and you had an exclusive agreement for compensation, but majority of the buyers didn't. And the level of skill, that's something that I've learned from you over the years, that the level of skill necessary to represent a buyer was not really um, Mike Ferry used to call it a glorified door openers.
Yeah.
And that is gonna have to change. That this lawsuit changes that.
Well,
The skill will get paid.
Well, here's what I wanted to, and this was new to me. I actually didn't know this, but Vicente shared this with me off camera. I think, Vicente, you said that it's this that has already happened in other countries, meaning that like it's already happened. Did you say in France, or did you say like where has this happened? Because it's funny, because if you look around, sometimes something that maybe appeared new to us may have already happened somewhere else. So like, do you have any insight on where that happened? Any insight on how that works in France or some of these different countries?
It is a great question, Jose Luis. The fact that France is already operating that way, and also Australia is happening with the transactions have decoupled the compensation from the seller into the buyer's agent. And that's one of my questions. My question is like, what does this lawsuit does to an already wounded U.S. real estate market?
Yeah,
and that we still have to see.
Well,
where
I think
the actual market.
But I think that there is. I love that we're doing this. By the way, it's so cool to like try and get out ideas of believable people. So I think that with a high degree of probability, being that volume has already gone down 19, like depending on geographic area last year, 19 to 30%, depending on where it was, 6 million to 4 million transactions. And let's say the majority of buy sides, I mean, the majority of agents are buy side heavy, 60-70% of their deals are on the buy side. I also think a byproduct of this is over time, let's say over a 5 to 10 year time span, I do think professional fees will come down over time as a result of the decoupling, right? Now, I also think that as a ramification of this, one of the things I wrote down is that teams that are focused on buy side, because what the model has been since the internet, which was the last structural change to the business, right? Because it used to be like nobody had any information about real estate, and real estate agents had basically a monopoly of information. Well, that got decoupled, that got decentralized, right? Democratized with the internet. And then the model became buy leads and then offer out, and then work the buy side leads, because the majority of those leads are buyers. And that works when you know that you can expect let's say, all commissions are negotiable. We're all aware of that. Let's say a 2 to 3% commission on the buy side. That model functions. When that changes with a very high degree of probability, that has a problem with that model. Because I know that the majority of teams don't operate on
Just listings.
Like really fundamental good economics, where the team lead usually is in production, right? Because they need to be in order to be profitable, and the team itself doesn't actually, they operate on very thin profit margins. So if that revenue drops by a third, that makes that model problematic over time.
Vicente, when there was the MLS book before, did they advertise
Hey, I feel like we just went to a cave and we're like, tell us, old man, did you used to use tablets when you?
No, and the reason I ask is there was a video by Glenn Sanford today, and he was talking about how before, I think he said something about that the buyer's agent compensation wasn't advertised at some point, or it was on the list. So he said something that I didn't quite understand. So I kind of wanted to ask the wise Vicente.
And it's a great question. In my experience, my opinion, what I remember is that the buyer's compensation was not advertised. It was not
on the book, in the book,
anywhere until the birth of the MLS in the early
until
2000s.
the MLS came about. So
when the MLS
the
came about, then cooperating agreements and share compensation was advertised. Then in the midst of settling this lawsuit, one of the things that NAR and Zillow and Millo and Willow and Truly and Zulia did is they began publishing the buyer's agents commission as a way to appease this this lawsuit, and now that this settlement changes that. Okay, so another brutal change, Aaron, another brutal change to the market, right? When I started, the MLS changed the market. Zillow changed the market. Now this lawsuit changes the market again.
And I think one of the things I wrote down too is that Zillow's model is very much so in jeopardy as a result, because their model is they take our data, sell it back to us, so agents will make money on the buy side transactions, and they can charge 30-40% referral fees with like Zillow Flex and whatnot. At the same time, though, what I just mentioned in terms of the economics of that no longer makes sense if I don't know that I can expect a 2 to 3% commission on the buy side.
Right.
So
here is something else, Aaron. CoStar bought Homes.com. How much they invest millions and millions of dollars. They had 3 commercials at the Super Bowl, and their model is based on feeding off the agents. They get
giving all the leads
they get
back
the
to
consumer. They became the middleman. They get the consumer, and then buyers agents buy these leads, and their model, believe it or not, is based on the agents will not call those leads. So I discovered that these big companies, they sell leads to 5 different agents on the same market, the same leads, and that's how they make tons of money.
Yeah, I think there was a statistic where they sold like something crazy, like, I don't know, like 20 million leads, but there were only like 4 million transactions in the year, right? Or 100 million leads, something crazy like that. Well, and what Homes.com does is that they give all the leads back to the listing agent.
They changed it.
Which I can understand why agents would like that. Now, I'm also curious to see, and then we can talk about kind of strategically some things that people can be doing, right? So first, I think it makes sense. Like, hey, what do I think will be first level consequence, second level consequences, and then as a practicing real estate agent, how do I need to start presenting?
Beautiful,
right? Like, how do I need to start presenting on the listing side? How can I demonstrate value on the buy side, and that sort of thing. So. The other thing that I wrote down here is that smaller brokerages are going to get like hammered. So people who have like 60 agents, like 100 agents or less, like they're going to get hammered because they were already having a hard time from an economic perspective. But if revenue has the potential of going down, they're going to have to, and every brokerage is really like involved in these lawsuits. So they have to spend some sort of resources or time or money to fight them or to pay. And that takes time away and resources for adding value to agents and investing in technology and also not doing mergers and acquisitions. So I think what will happen is they will have to move to models where they can get rid of expenses like cloud-based models, which we are at the E to X.
Exactly.
Hey.
EXP.
I believe that will happen too. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think that you're absolutely right. See, everything is commission based, and one of my mentors said that realtors, we are the piece of meat between the two breads.
Yeah.
So as commissions are under pressure because it's the money that is in the middle.
Jose thought that was funny for some reason. I don't know why. He's such a little kid, bro.
He has heard me say this before.
You said the meat between two breads, and he was like, ha 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 ha.
You didn't think that was funny? Come on, bro. Where's your sense of
One of
humor?
my title reps calls them Vicenteisms. But anyways, moving forward, because the commissions are under fire. I saw this coming a long time ago. And I've always, throughout my career, Jose knows this, I've been extremely fond of buyers because that moral salary that gives you, seeing them put the key on their first home and help them build wealth, and having called me after 20 years and say, I want you to represent my daughter because you help us with this. And that is cool, right? But what happens to the skill? I remember that we used to give guarantees.
Isn't that interesting? Anybody besides me ever been on vacation have to bring your laptop? Anybody besides me, significant others, get pissed off because I'm checking it all the time? We don't live in a world of rich and poor. We don't live in a world of haves and have-nots. We live in a world of people who have leverage and people who don't. This house is fine. Now what I'm going to do is buy a bigger fucking one and bigger hole. I can't work 10x harder. I need leverage. Those are the facts. It's the way that shit is. The reason why I wanted to call you guys together today is because you guys are kind of emerging as leaders or have a desire to build with attraction. And I really do think, and this is what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, really kind of hammering this home, but I want to share it with you guys, is as your understanding of leverage increases, your excitement about attraction increases. Okay? So all of us here have been hard charging in real estate for an extended period of time, some longer than others, correct? I'm 17 years in the game. Who's longer than that here? 22. 22 years in the game. Okay. How about you? 12 years in the game. 18 years in the game. So we turned ourselves into people that can grind. Right? And I even see a nodding of heads. Yes, I'm a grinder. Right? Now, the issue with grinding is it's cool. I need to work very hard in order to produce favorable outcomes, but it's a 2x strategy. So what do you guys think I mean by a 2x strategy? Yeah. Okay, it's not duplicatable because I have to be there to do it. What else? It's not exponential, can't scale, right? It leads to incremental gains. Now, I don't want you to hear me. I'm not saying like selling real estate is bad. It's a fantastic thing. You can raise lots of cash very quickly, okay? Some people have made staggering amounts of, what's the most amount of money you've made in a month? $225,000. What's the most amount of money you made in a month? A lot? I don't know. She's like Drake. I don't know. It's a lot. I forgot. What's the most amount of money you made in a month? 170, bro. Selling real estate. Nobody's doing brain surgery here. Okay? So it's a fantastic mechanism for raising cash very quickly. The challenge is that it doesn't scale. And as soon as you stop, what happens? Ah, see? Isn't that interesting? Anybody besides me ever been on vacation have to bring your laptop? Anybody besides me, significant others, get pissed off because I'm checking it all the time?
Yeah. Anybody bring their laptop today?
Anybody bring their laptop today? You see what I'm saying? So the challenge is that that's the rub. I can make a tremendous amount of money. However, when I'm not present, it stops. It's a 2x kind of vehicle, right? So the goal and objective is to get leverage. And I read a really interesting book by this guy named Novello. I suggest everybody read that book. It will change your life. He said something there that blew my mind. It was very much so accretive. I had never heard it before. And what he said is we don't live in a world of rich and poor. We don't live in a world of haves and have-nots. We live in a world of people who have leverage and people who don't.
What's the name of the book?
The Almanac of Novello. And that is true. The first person I thought of when I thought about this is my dad. My dad is one of the hardest working people I know. I put him up against any grinder in this room. He's worked 6 days a week for 30 fucking years. He's probably driven in his car I don't know, like 1,000,000 miles, right? He's a furniture repairman, okay? But he has no leverage. Is there any end to that? No, there's no end to it. Anybody besides me know somebody's like that? Hardworking person, right? Grinds it out, but there's no end in sight because they don't have any leverage. And there's different forms of leverage, okay? The lowest form of leverage is labor. Now, why do you think labor would be the lowest form?
Trading time.
Okay, trading time. What's also true about labor, though, is if you've ever had assistants or staff or people that work with you, they get sick, they get tired, they quit. Jessica said they get pregnant. Come on, she's such a gangster. I know. Hey, she said it, not me, bro. You know what I'm saying? She's not lying. Or they want more. They want to go somewhere else. They switch companies. They want more money, right? So it's not the highest form of leverage. The second highest form of leverage is capital, where you have money working for you. Now, why would capital be better than labor? 24/7, 365, never gets tired, never gets sick, never quits. Okay? So if somebody utilizes the strategy, I'm just going to work hard, but I'm never going to take money and have it work for me, what do I know about that person? They're going to have to work for the rest of their life and become dependent on the government or the kindness of people who can help them. Correct? Anybody besides me have people in their life that you help? Yep. 100%, because they didn't save, they didn't understand leverage. So that strategy that you got from your parents to work hard, it is outdated. Hard work is the entry. It's expected. It's not a strategy. You see what I'm saying? The plan is where are we going? The strategy is how are we going to get there? So what is your plan from a financial perspective? What is it? What's your plan? Okay. Passive income to cover housing, transportation, food, and insurance. Would everybody agree that that's a worthy goal and objective? Okay, cool. So I can't work 10x harder. I need leverage. The third highest form of leverage, and these go in ascending order, by the way, is media. That's why Ricky's in the room. That's why you guys are seeing me all the time on media. All the time, baby, banging on it, right? Why would media be superior to money? Now that's an interesting thing to think about. Why is media more powerful than money? You see, the audience compounds. Why would that be valuable? Well, first, what is compounding? What does that mean? Multiplies. It gets bigger over time, right? So why would that be valuable that the audience compounds?
More attention.
Okay. More attention, more people know you. Look, as the audience compounds, what happens is people can develop a parasocial relationship with you. They can decide if they know, like, and trust you, and then they can make a decision if they want to do business with you or not. Guys, when I was on Ryan Pineda's podcast, how many people saw that? That's pretty dope, right? Yeah. When I was on his podcast, I realized something sitting down with him. I'm like, look, he's a smart guy. He's not smarter than me. He's definitely not a better salesperson than me, okay? What he is he understood and poured all of his time into that form of leverage. He's only been doing media for 3 years, seriously. 3! Not 10, 3. Okay? So media is the third highest form of leverage, and then the highest is software, code. Look at all the richest people on the planet. Larry Ellison, he's the guy with Oracle, code. Zuckerberg, code. Bezos, code. You see what I'm saying? Elon, code. I would propose Tesla's a software company, and PayPal was software.
Tesla's a data company.
Right. So with this understanding, I need everybody in this room to understand you can sell real estate, do it in high volume. We're going to help you sell it as much as possible. What I'm also aware of is if you don't start to add more leverage in your life, you will never stop doing that ever. Ever. You just won't. I don't care who you are. Those are the facts. It's the way that shit is, right? And I need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome. I have to see what's true and make decisions accordingly. Okay. So if you have a goal or objective at some point getting off that off-ramp, what options do I have at my disposal? One is I can take money that I'm earning, all of these great, monthly paychecks that we're getting, or multiples of paychecks, and I can take some of that money and I can put it into investments, things that pay me money, right? Whatever that is. I don't care what it is. We're not going to get into an interesting debate as to what's better, right? But it makes sense to do it. What's the challenge with that strategy? KJ said discipline. That's part of it. How many of us know a lot of people who make tons of money and don't invest any of it? And are still going to seminars at 70 years old talking about contacts? You fucked up if you did that. So discipline. What else?
It's limited. Yeah, it doesn't.
Tell me what you mean.
There's so much capital that you can deploy at one time.
Yeah, so I'm limited, and here's the problem. I need permission. Why do I need permission? I need your permission to give me money. Otherwise, it's called stealing. I need your permission. Now, we've all turned ourselves into the type of people that we can get people's permission. You might get 100 people's permission a year. You might get 100 people's permission a year, right? But I need people's permission. Would it be better if it was permissionless? Would it be better if I needed no one's permission? Oh, that would be much better, wouldn't it? That would be fantastically better, wouldn't it? Okay, good. So that's one strategy I have at my disposal. The problem is, also nobody mentioned, it takes a long time. It takes a long time, okay? So I sold real estate for 17 years. I sold 2,000 properties, right? In order to get enough cash to invest to make $9,000 to $10,000 a month residually. 17 years of blood, sweat, and tears. Of looking at my wife for the first 5 years all the way up being like, babe, I could be doing something else with my time. Anybody besides me ever do that? Yeah. Like legit, like, I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore, right? Like that's a long time. You know how many appointments that is, bro? It's like 4,000 listing appointments. You know how many hours of prospecting it is? It just takes a long time. So it's not that it's a bad strategy, it just takes a while, right? But I do propose you do it. But what if we can add other forms of leverage that are permissionless and are faster? Anybody be interested in that? I'm sorry, would anybody be interested in that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, because I'm super fucking interested in that. Right? I don't know about you guys, I want time freedom and location freedom. You know what I want? I want anywhere I'm walking around, there's a pile of fucking money behind me. People can't see it, but that's what's happening. It's right behind me. Anywhere I am on the planet. Okay? You like that idea, don't you? Hell yeah, she likes that idea. Who wouldn't? So, those two forms of leverage are the following. One is the media thing. For some of you in this room, some of you are doing it, some of you aren't. Brian's a perfect example. How long did it take for me to convince you to do media?
Wow.
Yeah, he's being generous. It took me like 8 months probably. 7 or 8 months to convince him. He's like, how do I know? And da-da-da, and this and that. And yet now, you are fully embracing it. How many agents do you have in your organization? 28 agents in his organization. That's what I'm talking about. Now, those 28 agents, approximately, I know it fluctuates, but approximately, what does that produce for you in residual income?
I have to put a number like 2,500.
2,500 a month. So think about this. How many doors would you have to earn to make $2,500 a month? At 500 a door. 5. You guys can do math. I was just checking.
That's not one commission, it's every month.
Exactly. So you'd have to own 5. That's 5 down payments, bro. How long would it take for you to get 5 down payments?
California, a while.
Oh yeah, in California a while. How long did it take for you to get to 28 agents?
Means since I joined, a year and a half.
A year and a half. Do you see what's happening? It's a compression of time. Now, why is it happening that quickly? Partly because of the media, but the other part is what is EXP? It's software. Okay, so YouTube, does YouTube create any content? KJ's like, yeah, they do, goddammit. In my neck of the woods, they do. So they don't. They actually, they're just a, what? Platform. Who creates the content?
We do.
Do brokerages sell any real estate?
No.
Who does?
We do.
So that means brokerages are? Oh my God. How interesting. Bet you didn't think about like a brokerage like YouTube or a brokerage like Instagram. It's just a platform with some kumbaya and some hand-holding. It's a piece of plastic, right? So it's just a platform. So I want you to stay with me for a second mentally. So if it's just a platform, what YouTube said to their content creators is they said, hey guys, we have a very interesting relationship with each other. We're a platform. We don't create jack shit content, okay? You guys create all the content. You're the talent. We need to come up with a mutually beneficial financial arrangement so we can keep doing this as a business. Is that logical? If they didn't do that, what would have happened? They would have went out of business. They had to do that. Do you see? And what they came up with is they said, hey, if you have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, we will give you half of the revenue that we generate from ads on your content. First question, is that a scam? No. That's just an economic model called revenue sharing. Oh, you mean there's other businesses that do this rev share shit? Yes. And you know what YouTube did for 15-year-olds? Made them fucking millionaires. Why? Because it's permissionless leverage, guys. Okay, so 50 years ago, did you need somebody's permission to get on TV? Yeah. 100%. Do you need permission now? Nope. I'm on your phones all the time. Do you need permission to get on the radio? 50 years ago? Yep. Do you need permission now? Nope. I can do a podcast whenever I want. You guys see all the podcasts I do. Do you see what's happening? Our job is to market that product to the consumer who are agents. The 7-level comp plan is how we get compensated, because we don't get a salary to do that. We get compensated. How we get compensated on marketing the product. Hey, we are